All right, next fight we're going to talk about is Kenny Florian versus Diego Nunes. Diego Nunes is second fight in the UFC. He's coming out of the WEC. Kenny Florian has been around for a while. He's proven. Tell me what you think about these guys.
I think it'll be an interesting fight. Kenny's been a solid, top-notch performer since he came out of the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, I got to work with him considerably in that, and worked with him outside of the cage on several occasions. Tremendous guy, very smart kid. Another one of those guys that thinks about his approach to fights and where he wants to be. There's been a knock about Kenny. It's that he maybe hasn't opened up as much as he probably could have in some of the fights. He kind of thinks too much, and I don't think he's going to have that opportunity with this kid. This kid wants to go. He's a goer. He's had a lot of top fights. Obviously, just beat Mike Brown in the UFC, and Mike Brown's been very impressive. So it's going to be a good event. I think both guys have similar strengths, BJJ and Muay Thai, which makes for an interesting matchup. Could also make for a slow fight. You don't really know how, styles always make fights. So, but I think they'll get after it. And, I think emotionally, I guess I'd have to pick Kenny Florian, the guy that's been at the highest level in the UFC. And this will be a big step up for Nunes to pull off a victory against Kenny. That puts him in the mix, I think, at 55.
Do you think coming from the WEC and fighting guys, obviously he proved himself in the UFC against his last opponent, which was a WEC fighter as well, Brown. But do you think stepping into it and going to the UFC and fighting an actual UFC veteran, do you think that makes any difference at all?
Well, I think he's already gotten through any of those jitters that he might have had walking into the bigger venue, the bigger arena, the bigger show. Obviously, a much more media-centric event with the UFC than the WEC ever was on Versus, and they tended to be smaller venues and it's just a smaller deal in general. So I think if he was going to have issues with that, it would have showed in his first fight out, walking into that arena
against Brown.
And so obviously he made it through that just fine. Though I don't think that's really an issue in this fight. Now is he going to be a little enamored and what are his feelings towards Kenny Florian? Who knows? But I think he'll put that aside and whatever that is and go out and let it hang out. That seems to be his style.
Okay.
I think he's still going to have his hands full with a very smart, wily Kenny Florian.
Okay, so you're going to pick Kenny Florian?
I'm picking Kenny.
That's it. I'm going to go with Nunes, and only because I think that WC fighter, younger kid. I think Kenny's got the experience, but I think that Kenny. I don't know. I don't think Kenny's been the same since he's lost to BJ. I almost think it kind of broke him in a sense. So I'm going to go with Nunes. You're going with Florian.
Yeah.